Men are valued for what they provide, not who they are. Listen carefully, because what I am about to reveal will cut deeper than any sweet lie you've ever been told. Every man grows up with the comforting belief that he will be loved for his soul, his personality, his laughter, or his heart. It is a beautiful idea, one that mothers whisper to sons and fairy tales feed to boys. But when you step into the harsh theater of adulthood, you realize the truth is nothing like the story. The world does not care about who you are at your core. Women especially do not value the man simply for existing. They value what he can provide: status, protection, resources, and strength. Strip these away and you will see how quickly affection fades. A man without provision is like a king without a crown. His very identity collapses. You may believe that your kindness, your humor, your gentle spirit, or even your intelligence will shield you, but they do not. At best, these are ornaments, decorations that sit on top of the foundation, and that foundation is what you can bring to the table. When you have status, when you carry wealth, when you wield influence, suddenly your so-called personality shines brighter. People will say, "He's so charming, he's so funny, he's so magnetic." But when you are stripped of power, those same traits are invisible. The exact same words that once sounded witty will sound desperate, annoying, or irrelevant. The man did not change, but his value in the eyes of others has vanished. Think of this: a man who is rich and powerful can be dull, humorless, even cruel, and still command the admiration and affection of women. Yet a man who is poor, soft, and powerless could be the warmest soul in the room, and still he will be overlooked, ignored, dismissed as though invisible. Why? Because women are hardwired to respect provision, not words, not intentions, not dreams, what you offer. Consider history itself. Kings with entire harems, warlords with endless lovers, emperors with wives, mistresses, and concubines. Were they chosen because of their kindness, their sparkling personalities? No. They were chosen because they provided security, access, and power. And before you object, before you whisper, "But times are different now," I will tell you this: only the surface has changed. The instinct remains the same. A woman may have her own career, her own resources, her own status, but when she looks at a man, she still measures him against one question: what can he give me that I cannot already give myself? This is why men who stagnate, who stop climbing, who lose ambition, find their relationships crumble. A woman may promise to love unconditionally, but even that love has an unspoken clause. It says, as long as you do not fall too far behind, as long as you continue to provide some measure of security, some sense of progress, some aura of strength. Remove these, and you will see how quickly affection can sour into resentment. Now, this truth is brutal because it demands accountability. You cannot hide behind the illusion that simply being a good man, a kind man, a loyal man, will be enough. A loyal man with nothing to offer is tolerated at best, pitied at worst. The world does not build monuments to the gentle and harmless. It reserves glory for the conquerors, the builders, the providers. Women, whether consciously or unconsciously, align themselves with those who hold such positions. It is not cruelty, it is survival. It is the ancient instinct to secure the strongest mate, the one most capable of ensuring protection and prosperity. Picture two men: one works tirelessly, rises through his career, commands respect from his peers, and carries himself with authority. The other drifts from job to job, speaks of dreams but never builds them, and spends his days in distraction. The first man, even if arrogant, even if flawed, will attract admiration. The second, no matter how kind-hearted, will attract little more than pity. His kindness may grant him sympathy, but sympathy is not desire, sympathy is not love, sympathy is not respect, and so men must face this reality with open eyes. Who you are inside matters only when it is reinforced by what you bring outside. Your personality is noticed when it is carried on the shoulders of achievement. Your heart is valued when it beats inside a man who can command respect. Without provision, without status, your virtues are invisible. And when you finally understand this, you stop resenting it, you begin to use it. Because power, provision, and status are not just chains, they are weapons. They are the tools that make the world listen, and they are the keys that unlock desire. Let me reveal something men refuse to believe, because the truth is too heavy to carry. Attraction is not unconditional. Love is not unconditional. Desire is not unconditional. These are lies told to men so that they will work harder, sacrifice more, and bleed willingly for a dream that was never real. Women do not love without condition. They do not attach themselves to a man for eternity regardless of his state. They love so long as the conditions of his power, his confidence, his strength, and his ambition are intact. The moment those conditions vanish, the illusion of unconditional love collapses like a house of glass. Think of the fairy tales you grew up with. The prince wins the princess not because he was the kindest soul in the kingdom, but because he slayed the dragon, because he proved his dominance, because he held the crown. What boy was ever told a story where the poor beggar, who never rose, who never conquered, who never built, still won the princess forever? Such stories do not exist. They are carefully designed lies, fed to boys to prepare them for sacrifice. The truth is, harsher attraction is built on your ability to maintain your place above the chaos. A man's downfall often begins when he forgets this rule. He believes that because she once loved him, she will always love him. He relaxes, he grows complacent, he lets his edge dull. He assumes his position in her heart is permanent. But the moment he slips, loses his ambition, falls from power, becomes passive, weak, or dependent, the attraction begins to rot. The smiles grow forced, the eyes wander elsewhere, and the respect dies in silence. She may not announce it immediately, but her instincts are already searching for the next source of strength. This is why women so often say they want stability, not chaos. Because their desire is rooted in the man's ability to remain stable in a storm. She does not want to carry him, she wants him to carry her. She does not want a man who cries endlessly on her shoulder, she wants a man who is unshakable enough that she can lean on him when her world collapses. The moment that balance is reversed, attraction bleeds out. Men make the fatal mistake of confusing kindness with attraction. They believe if they give enough, sacrifice enough, love enough, the woman will love them back endlessly. But attraction is not a reward for effort, it is a response to power. Women respect consistency, dominance, and control, not endless sacrifice. A man who bleeds for her without maintaining his strength becomes a martyr, not a lover. And martyrs are remembered with pity, not with desire. Let us speak plainly. A woman does not love a man the same way a mother loves her child. A mother loves regardless of condition. Her son could fail, stumble, fall, and still she would cradle him. But a lover's love is bound to what he represents, what he maintains, what he continues to embody. A man stripped of his ability to lead is not loved as a man. He may be tolerated, but tolerated affection is poison. Attraction that requires tolerance is already dead. This truth can be seen everywhere, but most men are too blind to recognize it. Why do women chase the man who seems indifferent, the man surrounded by choices, the man who never bends too much to please them? Because his value appears secure, his conditions intact. He radiates the unspoken message, I do not need you, but you must earn me. And she responds not because he is cruel, but because he understands the mechanics of attraction. Compare this with the man who places her above all, who abandons his path, who begs for her affection. He is not respected, because he demonstrates that his only condition is her approval. A man whose sole condition is a woman is a man who has forfeited his throne. The deeper tragedy is this: men desperately crave unconditional love, because they know their own love is often unconditional. A man can fall in love with a woman who has nothing. Her beauty, her youth, her essence alone can capture him. He does not demand that she climb the ladder of power. He does not require her to dominate the world. He loves because she exists. But the love that comes from women is tethered. It is tied to strength, tied to progress, tied to the unspoken promise that he will not collapse. This asymmetry is why so many men suffer. They expect a love that mirrors their own, but what they receive is a love bound by conditions. And when you understand this, you no longer waste energy asking for unconditional devotion. You no longer cry out when love fades after weakness. You accept it for what it is: attraction that lives only as long as the conditions remain alive. It is not cruelty. It is not betrayal. It is the law of nature. There is a truth so sharp, so uncomfortable, that women bury it deep beneath polite words and social masks. It is the double standard of desire. Men are condemned for chasing many women, branded as reckless, unfaithful, shallow. But silently, in the shadows of judgment, women are drawn to those very men. The man who is wanted by many is the man they cannot resist. The man who stands alone, desperate for one, is the man they dismiss. What society punishes with words, women reward with attention. You see it everywhere, though most men refuse to notice. When a man is surrounded by women, his value multiplies. His desirability is confirmed by the desire of others. They call it preselection, the instinct that tells a woman, if others want him, there must be something worth wanting. This instinct is ancient, older than civilization itself. A woman who chose a man desired by none risked choosing weakness, failure, or irrelevance. A woman who chose a man already desired increased her chances of survival. This primal calculation still operates beneath the modern facade of equality. But listen carefully, the double standard cuts like a blade. If a woman pursues many men, she is not condemned in the same way a man is. She is often defended, celebrated, told she is free, independent, empowered. A man who behaves the same is shamed, told he is toxic, selfish, or immature. Yet beneath this contradiction lies a truth no one dares to say aloud: women want men with options, but they do not want men to openly acknowledge those options. They want the feeling of exclusivity, while secretly desiring the man who is not exclusive. Think of the way women speak about loyalty. They claim to want a man who is devoted, who is faithful, who gives his whole heart to one. But watch their actions. The man who bends entirely to one woman often loses her respect. She may love his devotion for a time, but eventually, the lack of competition makes her question his worth. If no one else desires him, why should she? This is why so many men are abandoned after they give all of themselves. They mistake loyalty for attraction, when attraction was never rooted in loyalty at all. It was rooted in competition. This is why women are fascinated by men in positions of power. The celebrity, the leader, the man of influence. These men have no shortage of attention, no shortage of options, yet women chase them obsessively. Not because they believe they will be the only one, but because they want to be the one who conquers him despite the crowd. Desire, for women, thrives in scarcity. A man surrounded by abundance becomes more valuable. A man who is only her becomes less valuable. But here lies the double edge. When a man embraces this reality, when he openly pursues many women, he is condemned. He is called a player, a liar, a manipulator. Society punishes him for acting on the very instincts that women reward in silence. The man who hides his options, who masks his abundance, is tolerated. The man who flaunts them is scorned. Yet beneath the scorn lies the hidden truth. She desires him more because others do. Her words and her desires move in opposite directions, and only a fool listens to her words without watching her actions. This double standard is visible in every relationship dynamic. A man who has many women chasing him is respected by the woman he finally chooses. A man who chases endlessly after one woman is dismissed, pitied, or used. The imbalance is brutal, but it is consistent. Desire is never fair, never balanced, never symmetrical. It bends to power, not to morality. Men must understand this without illusion. You are not judged by the purity of your devotion, but by the scarcity of your presence. You are not valued because you want only her. You are valued because others also want you. This is the game she will never admit to playing, because to admit it would expose the mechanics of her own attraction. She tells you she wants loyalty, but she is drawn to competition. She tells you she wants commitment, but she craves proof that other women would fight for the same man. She tells you she wants security, but her pulse quickens when she fears losing you to another. The double standard of desire is not fair, and it is not meant to be. It is not built on fairness. It is built on nature. Women crave the man others desire, and yet they condemn him for indulging in that desire. They want the winner of the race, but they demand that once he wins, he must pretend there was never a race at all. And men, blind and obedient, believe the words instead of the actions. They trade their abundance for devotion, and in doing so, they trade their attraction for pity. Men are told from birth that romance is the key to a woman's heart. Flowers, love letters, poems, candlelight dinners. All of these gestures are painted as the secret weapons that will unlock her devotion. But the truth is, this romance is not the foundation of desire. Romance is decoration, the foundation is power. A man with power can command loyalty without a single rose, while a powerless man can shower a woman with gifts and affection and still be abandoned without hesitation. Romance without power is empty. Power without romance is still effective, and when the two collide, it is always power that reigns supreme. You must see it for what it is. A man who commands authority, who holds influence, who stands above other men. He can do the bare minimum in romance, and women will still pursue him with relentless passion. His presence alone excites them, because his status speaks louder than any sweet word could. Contrast this with the man who has nothing but affection to give. He writes her poems, he sends her good morning texts, he plans elaborate surprises, yet his efforts are met with lukewarm smiles, polite thank yous, and eventually silence. His romance does not fail because it lacks beauty. It fails because it lacks power behind it. History is filled with examples that prove this truth. Kings and conquerors had lovers not because they were the most romantic, but because they were the most powerful. Julius Caesar did not seduce Cleopatra with flowers and songs. He seduced her with Rome. Napoleon did not win Josephine with endless devotion. He won her with victory, with conquest, with the aura of a man who bent nations to his will. Even in today's world, the richest men, the celebrities, the leaders, do not need to drown women in romance to attract them. Their very presence, their very command is romance enough. Romance becomes meaningful only when it flows from power. A gift from a man of authority is not just a gift. It is a symbol of his dominance. His attention itself is rare, valuable, worthy of celebration. But when romance comes from a man who has no authority, no status, no command, it becomes cheap. His attention is not a prize, it is a burden. What was meant to seduce becomes instead a signal of desperation. The same act, the same gesture, carries two entirely different weights depending on the man who delivers it. This is why so many men are bitter when they see women gravitate toward men who treat them coldly, men who give little romance, men who appear detached. They cannot understand why their endless devotion is ignored, while a man who barely acknowledges her becomes irresistible. The answer is simple: that man radiates power. He does not need to impress her with effort, because he already impresses her with dominance. She feels it in his presence, in the way others react to him, in the way he carries himself. Power is the ultimate aphrodisiac, and romance is only effective when built upon its foundation. Do not mistake this for cruelty. A woman may enjoy romance, she may delight in affection, but her attraction does not come from these things. It comes from the authority behind the man giving them. This is why the same romantic gesture from two different men creates two entirely different reactions. From the powerful man, it is a privilege. From the powerless man, it is an annoyance. Women will never admit this openly because it destroys the fairy tale. But the fairy tale is only for children. Men who want to survive in the game of desire must see through it. Consider the countless men who complain, "But I did everything for her. I gave her everything. I was always there." They believed their downfall was bad luck, when in truth their downfall was weakness. They thought romance could replace power. They thought affection could substitute for authority. They were wrong. A man who abandons power to chase romance will lose both. A man who builds power first will always have romance as an option. This law is merciless, but it is unbreakable. Women admire the man who stands above others, not the man who kneels before them. They crave the thrill of being chosen by the one who has choices. They do not dream of being loved by the desperate, they dream of being desired by the dominant. And when romance comes from dominance, it feels like conquest. When it comes from weakness, it feels like pity. Power always trumps romance because romance is a supplement, not the source. Romance can enhance what power has already built, but it cannot replace it. A powerless man trying to buy love with affection is like a pauper trying to buy a kingdom with trinkets. The gesture may be sweet, but it is still irrelevant. Women know this instinctively, even if they never confess it. That is why they chase the men who seem untouchable, the men who command the room, the men whose presence itself feels like a prize. Men are told to open up, to bare their souls, to share their deepest fears and insecurities. Society tells them that vulnerability is strength, that women want to see the real man, the fragile creature behind the armor. But this is a dangerous illusion, one that destroys more men than it saves. The truth is this: men's vulnerability is tolerated only in small doses, and beyond that it becomes weakness. Women may say they want a man who expresses himself, but when he reveals too much, when he collapses into her arms without control, her respect begins to erode. Attraction does not grow from pity, it dies there. You see, the image of the strong man is what sustains desire. The leader, the protector, the unshakable presence. A woman may tell you that she wants honesty, that she wants you to cry, that she wants you to reveal every hidden fear, but test it, show her the full depth of your struggle, expose your brokenness, reveal your helplessness, and watch carefully. The warmth fades. The light in her eyes dims. She may comfort you in the moment, but something irreversible shifts inside her. She no longer looks at you as a man to follow, but as a burden to carry. And once that shift occurs, it is almost impossible to reverse. This is not cruelty, it is nature. A woman is wired to seek protection, not to provide it. Her instincts demand that the man beside her stands taller than the storms. When he collapses too often, when his vulnerability overflows, she begins to doubt his ability to shield her from the world. If he cannot protect himself, how can he protect her? If he crumbles under his own weight, how can he carry hers? These questions form silently in her mind, and though she may never speak them, her attraction withers under their weight. Men often confuse temporary comfort with enduring respect. Yes, a woman may hug you when you break down, she may stroke your hair, she may tell you that everything will be fine. But inside, the seed of doubt has been planted. She begins to see you not as her leader but as her child, not as her protector but as her dependent. And no woman dreams of giving her body, her devotion, her admiration to a man she perceives as a child. Once she has mothered you, she cannot desire you in the same way. This is why men must learn control. Vulnerability is not forbidden, but it must be measured, restrained, wielded with precision. A man who reveals nothing appears cold, unreachable, untouchable. But a man who reveals too much becomes weak, unworthy, disposable. The balance is delicate. You may show a scar, but never bleed endlessly. You may admit a fear, but never drown in it. You may shed a tear, but never collapse completely. The strong man allows glimpses of his humanity, but never surrenders the image of his strength. Think of the men women chase without hesitation. Do they admire them for their constant openness, their endless tears, their confessions of weakness? Or do they admire them for their command, their authority, their ability to remain unbroken in the face of chaos? The truth is obvious, yet men blind themselves with the lies of a world that tells them to just be themselves. Being yourself without control is a recipe for destruction. A man must curate what he reveals. He must manage the perception of strength, because that perception is the lifeblood of attraction. Consider the countless men who lose their partners during times of hardship. They fall into despair, they lean too heavily on the woman's support, they show her the raw and filtered weight of their suffering. At first she stays. At first she comforts. But slowly, she drifts, she loses respect, she loses attraction, and eventually she leaves. Not because she is cruel, not because she never cared, but because the man she once followed no longer exists. He replaced himself with a weaker version, and in doing so, he destroyed the very dynamic that fueled her desire. Even in modern culture, this truth reveals itself again and again. Women scream for equality, for openness, for emotional transparency, but watch where their desires truly go. They still chase the men who remain stoic under pressure, the men who do not break, the men who carry the burden of silence without complaint. Their words may praise vulnerability, but their instincts betray them. Instincts cannot be rewritten by slogans or campaigns. They are older than civilization itself. And so, the man who wishes to be desired must understand this cruel law. Vulnerability, when uncontrolled, strips him of authority. It reduces him from protector to dependent. It transforms him from a figure of strength into a figure of pity, and pity is the death of attraction. A man must bleed in silence, or at the very least, bleed with restraint. He must choose carefully when to reveal weakness, and when to conceal it. He must understand that his value is not in how much of his pain he shares, but in how much of it he can endure without crumbling.